Here in this room right now, we're going to move on to our second panel session, and it is Digital Bridges, Trusted Systems. We are building infrastructure of a bilateral innovation. We will rearrange the furniture, get that set up as I introduce this. Now, this session is exploring how two of the world's fastest growing digital economies are collaborating at scale, and that's what it's about. Those who've been with us most of the week, we have heard about AI and how collaboration at scale and how it's not to be scared of, it's to be used to help in all sectors. To guide us through this, to facilitate this next panel, please welcome up Dr. Monica Kennedy, Austrade's Senior Trade and Investment Commissioner here in South Asia. Monica, great to have you. Joining her on stage, our esteemed panellists, Ambassador Anil Wadhwa, the IABCA Advisor and India's former Secretary Minister of External Affairs. Professor Iain Martin, the Vice-Chancellor and President of Deakin University, the first international university to set up a campus here in India. Familiar to us this week, Mukund Narayanamurti, the Minister for Commercial, General Manager and Head of Austrade here in South Asia. He has only been in the job for a few weeks, so it's great to have him here. Nidhi Sinha, the General Manager and Chief Analytical Officer from the Commonwealth Bank. Swapan Johri, HCL Technologies President of Digital Business Services. And Vivek Bhatia, the Managing Director and CEO of MFUG, Pension and Market Services, and IABCA Alumni Champion. Let's welcome to the stage collectively. A big round of applause. This panel is going to be absolutely exceptional. I'm going to hand it over to Monica to lead the way through.
Thank you. Good morning. Hi, everyone. Can I ask my panellists, please take a seat, get comfortable. A fast change over here to the next session. Great to have the opportunity to welcome you this morning to this discussion on digital bridges and trusted systems. We're going to be focusing on building the infrastructure of bilateral innovation. It's a conversation that couldn't be more timely. At a time when we're seeing shifting friendships and allegiances globally, technology is both an enabler for growth and a foundation for trust, resilience and scale. Very important to the Australia-India relationship and an opportunity for us to lead and to expand our engagement in this area. So today we have the unique advantage, or we'll explore that unique advantage, as well as the challenges that we face in the tech relationship. We'll dive into the importance of trust-based systems, scalable solutions, and collaborative infrastructure as we continue to shape the shared technology future that Australia and India share. An amazing group of panellists you'll see this morning. And I'll introduce them very briefly as we move into the program. Ambassador Anil Wadhwa, well known to many people here, a career diplomat who's represented India as ambassador to Italy, Thailand, Oman and Poland. He's also served as Secretary East in the Ministry of External Affairs, and today he continues to advise and guide as an independent director and advisor on boards of corporates and organisations worldwide. Welcome, Anil. We have Nidhi Sinha, who brings more than 20 years' experience building high-performing data teams and driving innovation in the world of banking. Nidhi is General Manager at Commonwealth Bank, and she's leading the bank's global work in generative AI and cutting-edge technologies to transform operations and enhance customer experiences. I'm also delighted to introduce my boss, my very new boss, Mukund Narayanamurti. He's the Minister Commercial and General Manager at Head of Austrade South Asia. Mukund was the founding CEO of AsiaLink Business, Australia's National Centre for Asia Capability, and he's built his experience over a lifetime of work on the India-Australia relationship, including times at KPMG, advising specifically on this area and M&A transactions. He's a qualified chartered accountant and received his MBA from MIT. Swapan Johri, here as well, is President of Growth Markets at HCL Technologies and leads HCL's strategy across Asia Pacific, Japan and the Middle East. It's a strong focus on digital transformation, IT services and cybersecurity. He's leading the growth strategy and we're looking forward to his thoughts in this field today. Vivek Bhatia is here with us as well. Gee, it's an amazing panel today. Managing Director and CEO of MUFG Pension and Market Services. He's bringing 2 decades of leadership in financial services and technology, driving transformation in pensions and superannuation services. Previously, Vivek co-led the Asia Pacific Restructuring and Transformation practice at McKinsey & Company. Great to have you here today. Finally, on this incredible and esteemed panel, Professor Iain Martin, the Vice-Chancellor and President of Deakin University, Australia. Iain is a medical doctor by training and is highly respected as a university leader globally. He's known for his vision in innovation in education and research and has held positions including Professor of Surgery and Dean of the Faculty of Medical and Health Science. Iain continues to lead the implementation of Deakin University's strategic plan, Deakin 2030, Ideas to Impact. And he's a great friend of India and a really important leader in the India-Australia corridor. Right, that was a very long and detailed introduction. Thank you again, everybody, for joining. Can I start with you, Ambassador Wadhwa, with a question to get us started in the broad about the big picture in this sphere, and to learn about your experience. What have been the most significant shifts you've seen in global technology landscape in the past decade? And which of them do you think has or will be the most transformative to our global future?
Thank you. Thank you, Monica. I think there have been at least 5 or 6 technologies which have transformed the way we think, the way we act, and the way we live. I would place machine learning followed by artificial intelligence on top of that list. I say this because artificial intelligence today is like horizontal technology which covers everything that we do. It has a lot of promise, still very untapped, and the future looks very bright. It's also a fact that this technology will require a lot of regulation and how we actually go forward with it. Second is the digital stack, which is the mobile telephony and the digital infrastructure that has come up over the past decade or so in particular. So a lot of countries in Asia and Africa have been able to leapfrog their paths towards economic development because of the digital stack, and it has enabled them to actually build on inclusivity. And that is the most important path towards their development. Third, I would say it's the new technologies which have emerged in terms of sustainability. So it's the green economy, hydrogen, the battery storage, etc., which has, again, a lot of potential. It has a lot of implications as to how we live in the future in terms of climate change, sustainability, and how this whole planet of ours is going to coexist later on and survive. Fourth, I would say, is biotechnology. Biotechnology was a saving grace during the COVID pandemic, for instance, and going forward, I think, is going to bring about further revolutions in terms of how long human beings live, the diagnostics part of it, and finally, I would say it's the quantum technologies, the new space technologies, where the private sector is now doing a lot in these areas, and the way we will perform vis-a-vis ourselves later in terms of making sure that disasters are prevented, in terms of making sure that we can prevent wars, for instance, or for that matter, anything to do with mapping of agriculture everything comes from space. And space situational awareness is going to create a revolution in terms of, again, the war-fighting capabilities, but also the peace applications as to how humanity progresses in the future. So what all told, I would say artificial intelligence is the one that I would pick as the one which needs very careful monitoring in the future, and also regulation, because that's going to determine how we survive as a planet.
Thank you, Ambassador. And from that fabulous scene setting at the global level, encouraging us to really be cognizant of what we're thinking, acting and living, and how we're doing that through new technologies and the interplay between regulation and commerce. I'd like to step down now to the India-Australia relationship, and if I could, Mukund, ask you about in the bilateral relationship and with your understanding as head of Austrade's trade and investment activities across South Asia, you might have a view about where we're seeing trade and investment opportunities in tech that will have the greatest commercial impact, and what role business plays in strengthening technology collaboration between our two nations.
Thanks very much, Monica. It's great to be here. And I'd like to build on Ambassador Wadhwa's comments, who set the context beautifully in highlighting so many areas which show the strategic overlap between Australia's critical and enabling technology strategy, which we've set as a country, which highlights the 7 key areas in which we want to focus when it comes to technology. And Ambassador Wadhwa has touched on many of them, including clean energy storage, AI, biotech, robotics and autonomous systems as some examples, and how that overlays with India's strategic agenda, be it through the Make in India policy agenda or through India's global digital public infrastructure agenda. And there's a fantastic strategic overlay there. That's the context. We're also very, very fortunate that through the leadership of High Commissioner Philip Green, who you all heard from, we now also have a very specific economic roadmap with India, and technology is highlighted as a major economic role that underpins the potential for our success across so many sectors, be it agriculture, be it health, or our engagement even with the financial services sector here. So 3 areas with some examples to just bring to life the opportunities between India and Australia are in fintech, in agtech, and in the area of healthcare and medical technology. So starting with fintech, now there are a number of different payment solutions in this market, but we've been delighted to work with companies like Zixu and OtherPay, who have been able to bring in payment solutions. And if you look at OtherPay, for instance, their proposition is around the integrity that they can bring through authentication systems at the point of purchase, and that's being highly sought after. Similarly, it's been great to also have Indian payment platforms such as PayU and Pine Labs look at the Australian ecosystem for their solutions in payments and at point of sale. And what's encouraging for them is that Australia brings great strengths in regulation technologies and compliance, which can then provide them with the validation to actually access global capital markets from Australia. Now, if we look at agtech, 3 key areas in which we're really excited of the opportunities is, first and foremost, solutions that can actually help with animal welfare solutions here. Solutions around really the organic use of fertilizers to improve crop yield, and then specific technologies around grain storage. And so AusSan is an example of a company that has brought solutions with the identification of lumpy skin disease in cows here in India, which has been really well received by the Indian Veterinary Association. So that's an example. That's in agtech. If you look now at medtech and healthcare more broadly, we're seeing significant opportunities in AI-enabled diagnostics being sharpened. We're seeing great opportunities in telemedicine, and we're seeing great opportunities also in e-pharmacies. And of course, Australian companies are participating in those opportunities. Harrison AI, for instance, has sharpened diagnostics being delivered in hospitals here in India. ResMed's been able to bring its sleep apnea, life-saving respiratory technologies here to India. And Cochlear, of course, has the cochlear implants that are available here. Now, everything we do recognizing the incredible tech ecosystem here. And so we're delighted that we have some 30 Indian tech companies with a great presence, one of whom, of course, a pioneer in Hetsio Tech. And it's not just their presence back in Australia, but they're key partners for these Australian tech companies coming to India to have any scale and impact.
Thank you, Mukund. Yeah, really important consideration of the strategic overlap, and we come back to that again in discussion between Australia and India opportunity. Swapan, if I could, since we've been referring to you most directly right now, and HCL Tech has been an absolute key player at the centre of innovation in India and globally, of course, and has a long history in Australia too. From that vantage point, what do you see as the challenges and opportunities in achieving trusted digital systems across both these geographies? You know, what's required to overcome these challenges and to really capitalise on the opportunity?
Thanks, Monica, and Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my co-panelists, Sonia, good day and namaskar. I think from an opportunity perspective, I would probably group them into two parts. I think there is what we can do for each other. I mean, what can India do for Australia? What can Australia do for India? And of course, there is some overlap there or some joint stuff. And that's something which we've all been dealing with a lot, right? I think we all understand that India brings a lot of scale from a talent perspective, from a deep-rooted understanding and a capability in technology, and we can bring that to the fore for Australian corporates or for anything that's to be done in Australia. But I think we need to kind of move beyond that and look at the second set of opportunities, which is what can we do together, which is for both the countries together, right? And I think the reason I say that is when it comes to digital transformation or adopting digital, there is still a lot more ground to be covered. And digital is all about efficiency and experience, but it all has to happen at speed, right? If you deliver it later, it is of no consequence, right? And for that, you need talent, and talent is not so easily available, right? So instead of everybody doing their own stuff separately, there are areas which can be brought to be done together. And I think just taking that a little further, I think the biggest opportunity really is not in what the big corporates do, or, I mean, they'll find a way, they will find, plus they have their own constraints, they have their own policy, they have their own business situation to look at, and they will do things within that. There is a lot of things that can happen for the small and medium businesses and from a government perspective. And there is so much more common things that can be done over there. I think Mukund spoke about payments. I think that's a good progressive area, right? But it's still tip of the iceberg is what we've tapped. There is so much more that you can do there. So if we can look at things which can be used, it's almost like the Reuterization of the digital platforms, right? If you can do something which multiple companies can use, or multiple businesses can use, or a common cause can be achieved, which is common between both countries and have a common platform. Yes, you can still do a GUI separately. I mean, the user interface could be separate. Data, of course, you have to respect sovereignty, so you will keep the data separate, but the platforms can be developed common. So we will save time, effort, and of course money in doing that and bring much more speed there. From a challenge perspective, I think the question and the word that was there, Monica, and your question really is the trust factor. I think it's quite ironical, and when it comes to companies like HCL Tech or a few of my friends in the industry, there is lots that we've done in Australia already. I think case in point is transport, and there is some new work that we're doing for most state governments. We've been delivering that for years, but for some reason, it doesn't get understood that this amount of work is being delivered, by companies who are not really within Australia, right? And they are all serving Australian citizens, or they are serving something which is, purely Australian. So I think there is a bit of a trust deficit that needs to be built up, probably by more awareness, by more talking about it, and more demonstration of what's being used. That could possibly happen. Outside of that, I mean, there is the regular tech stuff, and I'm sure Nidhi will probably be able to talk a lot more about that. There is the cyber piece, and there is how I spoke about data sovereignty. But I think those are technical challenges you can overcome. I think the long-term stuff that needs to be really done is about trust.
They're very human parts of the relationship. And Vivek, it's on that point that I wanted to go to you. MUFG is focused on user experience and outcomes in an area of really key personal concern for individuals, like so many of your clients. So trust is imperative in that environment. How do you think it's built in the digital world? How do you see it? And what's the role of the corporate in building infrastructure for innovation across geographic boundaries that would enable it?
Thanks, Monica, and thank you for the opportunity to be here, an esteemed panel. Trust is a very challenging thing, especially when it comes to critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure was always associated with physical infrastructure in the past, whether that were roads, ports, airports, gas lines. And in the last 20, 25 years, that's been a transition to digital. So it's still quite new, but now everything is focused on digital infrastructure. As an organization, we are classified as critical infrastructure in Australia when it comes to managing superannuation, which is the pensions framework. 40% of all Australians are on our platform. Our share platforms occupy a place where 40% of all ASX 200 companies operate on our platforms. We also do that across India and the UK and 12 other markets globally. When you do critical infrastructure, the responsibilities go pretty high. Obviously, what are the core components? Technology, of course, being dependable, being reliable, showing up every day, the uptime metrics. But also what is really important is the governance. So what is the use of, where's the use of data happening? If there are algorithms driving it, how transparent they are to users. Is it possible that people don't see the various aspects of it and then the mistrust starts to grow? Is there a very clear line of sight in terms of the AI ethics and governance policy, especially as AI is coming in? It's still a very new concept, as Ambassador Wadhwa said. Great future, and we can see the potential in it, but there is a lot of mistrust, especially after what happened with social media over the last 10 years.
Yes, yeah.
Right? So with big tech ruling in, it's always very important to make sure that at the end of the day, the rule of regulation and governance is to safeguard the person on the street. The mom and dad on the street needs to always be in the center of that trust building exercise. And it happens over a period of time, but it vanishes very quickly. Let's talk about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity has never been more important. There are more attacks every second today than they were happening in a year 5 years ago. So that's how much that world is changing, whether that's state nations, whether that's state players, whether that's random people sitting in a garage somewhere in the world. So making sure that your systems actually have the resilience, whether that's operational or technology-wise, and making sure that there is a scaffolding that is being built predominantly to scale up. In essence, what I would say is that the digital side, the trust comes with that is the glue that brings things together. It allows people to interact digitally. But corporations have a very important role in building that scaffolding. And that's through the governance processes, through the resilience, through the operability, and ensuring that once that is built, then that can lead to scaling of innovation.
Thank you. And those themes around governance, transparency and resilience are ones that we keep on hearing, and I imagine we'll hear it from you too, Nidhi, as we ask you about the area in which you work, from financial services, something in which trust is absolutely fundamental. And your role sits at the centre of how technology is changing financial models and how that impacts on individuals. So how are you seeing AI being used in Australia and in India to build secure and resilient systems? What unique strengths do Australia and India each bring?
Thanks, Monica. I think there's some very interesting points that have come up already. If I just look at the advancement of technology, it continues to, I think, change the landscape and the economy of both the countries. And that does open up a lot of opportunity to connect and collaborate. If I start from India, I think we all have experienced the impact of DPI. We spoke about the payment ecosystem. And DPI is a tech stack which has UPI, which does, I was just reading, 20 billion transactions in a month, which is more than 10,000 in a second. That's the resilience, that's the scale that we're talking about. You talk about Aadhaar, which is like 1 billion plus Indians have got a biometric identity, which then enables a lot many things like DigiYatra, your DigiLocker, eKYC, which is doing KYC almost for any bank or any telecom for that matter in split of a second. So that's the kind of infrastructure or what we call as tech stack that we have built in India. And going back to the point of it is scalable, it is resilient, it is inclusive, and most importantly, it is interoperable. So what it does is then it opens up a lot of private and other companies to actually leverage this and really go strong on AI and technology. A lot of banks are using this ecosystem to go strong. So I think the basics that we have, definitely something which is quite foundational and has changed how we are operating in India. None of this, obviously, in fact, how did I forget? We talk about AI. So LLM is not changing what's happening in India. So government-led initiative like Bhashini, Bharat Gen, is talking about, is creating multi-language capability. So obviously, we are a country of diversity. There are so many languages and so many dialects. So with LLMs, which are India data-centric, we are able to create the capability which is now going to help us weave more inclusivity in what we do. I was reading some statistics. Google search in India, 1/3 of that search is done through voice-based. And if we can enable the language on top of that, that is going to further empower so many people, elders, people in smaller towns and cities. So that's definitely the India story, and most of us here would be experiencing that already on a day-to-day basis. Now coming, the one factor which really connects us with Australia, and that has also powered the India story, is the talent. India produces 2.5 million graduates, STEM graduates, on an annual basis. And that is not just powering the entire tech story that I spoke about, but it's also powering a lot of other countries, including Australia. And one other thriving example is CBA India. So I am part of CBA India, which is Commonwealth Bank of India. We set up some 7 years back. In fact, yesterday was our 7-year anniversary, and we had a nice celebration. Yes, thank you. So this is a team that we have set up, and it's continuing to grow strong in terms of the technical capability and AI and cyber that we bring. And then we collaborate. We're working very closely with, so CBA, just for a context, CBA is not only a global, I would say, a leading bank in Australia. It is the largest organization in Australia. So that way, as an organization, we can and we are playing a very strong role in terms of how we are driving AI and governance in AI in the country. Australia just completed its, it's called Roundtable, Economic Roundtable in July, which is last month. And it has identified AI as a national priority for the country. And this is where, again, when it comes as a national priority, it comes with a lot of governance and guardrails that we've spoken about. So CBA has been actively partnering with government in developing those AI guardrails. AI governances, it comes with a lot of responsibility. At the same time, AI does unleash a lot of outcomes. And AI is not new. We have been using machine learning since many years. Obviously, Gen AI is something which has come recently, and now agentic. But the power or the scope that it can really unleash is quite actually phenomenal. So we have been, being the leading bank, we have been supporting customers with a lot of personalized use cases, personalized interactions. In fact, we have taken data, done AI, and helped the community in weather forecasting, in natural calamity. Also, also identifying unfortunate incidents like domestic abuse for women. So AI can actually use data in a very, very powerful way. Having said that, it has its challenges, and we spoke about scams, we spoke about cybersecurity threats. So the same tool, same technology is being used by wrong actors in a negative way. But again, here then organization and country has to play a front foot game. We are talking about cricket, you have to be on the front foot. You need to use AI to circumvent all of these scamsters who are there operating. And this is what actually we are seeing CBA doing. So around 20 million transactions go through CBA's network every month. Each of them go through AI-powered detection, and if there are any fraudulent, we kind of try to catch it proactively. Our team in CBA India has done some great work in terms of identifying cryptocurrency patterns of fraudulent, and we have been able to stop that. We have a tech team here which has worked on global first name check, where we have created some technology where we would want to again proactively block wrong or scam transactions. So I think we can beat a lot of what's happening incorrectly through being really aggressive in terms of using AI, but in a responsible way. So net, lots happening in this space. I can go on, but both the countries have their strength. India brings in the agility, experimentation at scale. Australia brings it a lot of governance and a lot of infrastructure. I think if we can come together, it's going to be, we are coming together, but obviously if we can do it at a much larger scale, as you said, we are still not done at the scale that we should, then it can be very, very impactful. I just got one of my team members told, the definition of AI can change from artificial intelligence to Australia-India collaboration, and we need to do that.
Thank you. Now I'm just going to do a time check, if I can, with somebody. We started late, we have 5 minutes, and we have an amazing array of opinions to gather within that 5 minutes. So I'm going to go to you, Iain, if I can. Moving from those fantastic examples about the very human benefit that AI can bring, you've had a really distinguished career in medicine before moving into clinical academia and then now global university leadership. From your perspective, what roles do Australian universities have, or what roles do universities have generally, in building a bridge in shared digital innovation, and particularly if you could draw on your experience in health and medical technology?
So this is one area where I'll start with the opportunity for Australia and India to work together. A little bit like the last comment, we have expertise but don't have scale. India has both expertise and the most extraordinary level of scale. And I think bringing that together in healthcare is really important. And we've already got some examples where our AI teams worked with large India data sets around diagnostic and treatment optimization based on lived Indian experience. And I think this is a great way of working collaboratively because you're trading information that you can do easily. Distance doesn't really matter. It is a great opportunity. So that's the opportunity, and I think there's huge things in there. But every one of the panel members has mentioned trust. If you want an area where trust is absolutely at paramount, it's in healthcare. Yes, in the financial industry, it's really important, many other industries, but that sense of trust. Each government is working to get the best possible healthcare they can in terms of access, personalisation and financial sustainability. And AI has great opportunities to enhance the way we think about care, the way we think about optimising tests. Potentially, if we can ever get the regulators to change their mind, changing the way we think about trial methodology to move to AI-driven Bayesian optimization of trial methodology so it takes a shorter period of time to get drugs to market. All of that requires immense trust. And again, I think there is a real opportunity for the two countries to work together and say, what does it mean to have trusted healthcare artificial intelligence systems? And that's not only valid because it helps both countries, but it gives two sociological perspectives on what trust means. I'm very struck when I go to the United States just how different the perception of the public is to the trust they place in AI and the lower value they place on privacy of information compared to our two countries. And I think understanding that sociological bit is really important. Secondly, it's about the ethical and legal frameworks, and the ethical one being more important. So having two countries' perspectives on what does the ethics of this mean? Everyone gets really worried that, oh, AI will make mistakes. Shock horror, the current system makes mistakes as well. The challenge we have, the mistakes are going to be different. What are the ethics of that? What is, if AI is better, but it harms a different subset of patients, where do we play? Who carries that risk? And I think the opportunity for universities to be part of a trust lab mechanism to be able to do that is really, really important. And finally, I think what this will enable us to do is to provide much better localized healthcare. And India is in the remarkable position of, over the last decade, of rolling out low-cost, accessible digital infrastructure across the most widespread part of your incredible population. Drove past a street barber yesterday, sitting there with one chair, one mirror on the side of the street, but he had his digital payment card with the QR code there. Yeah. If you can do it in that environment, you can do it elsewhere. But it comes back to trust, and I think there is a real opportunity for Indian government, industry and universities, together with the equivalent Australia, to work together on what it means to do this, because the tech is the easy bit of this. You can take a data set, optimize diagnosis, but if you can't get into market or you can't get the community to trust you, it goes nowhere. I think that's actually our biggest opportunity, and then the tech and the economic opportunities will flow.
Thank you. Yeah, a fabulous, I guess, bringing together of those threads into a socio-technical discussion, one that's really focused on accessibility and scale too. Thank you, Iain. Now, with just 2 minutes to go, I'm going to wrap up our questions tonight, but this afternoon, but I wanted to ask each of you, each of the panellists, if you could think, like fast forward, maybe 5 years, think about what success looks like for Australia-India digital partnership. Can you give me one glimpse of what that might look like? Successful Australia-India digital partnerships. I'm going to ask for one example from each of the panellists. And I might start, if I can, with you, Swapan. Swapan, thank you.
I'll probably just build on what I said earlier. I mean, to me, it would be if, I don't want to put a number, but let's say if there are 10 common platforms that can be used, are getting used by, let's say, 500 SMBs across the two countries, I think that to me will define the success.
Fewer and shared platforms, yes.
Yeah. I would look at maybe something like a very collaborative innovation ecosystem where the two countries and their experts are collaborating on a regular basis to solve common problems, could be social problems, health problems, but coming together and solving and leading to adoption across the two countries.
Thank you, Nidhi. Ambassador.
So besides the collaborative framework, I would just pick two other areas. One is Australia and India working together across the Indo-Pacific because there is a need in this region to actually scale up the digital side of how the populations can deal with everyday life. And between India and Australia, we offer the right kind of solutions which have equality, which cover populations across the divide, and we can do it together. Secondly is India and Australia should take the lead in setting standards, especially for artificial intelligence, and especially on data storage, because that's extremely important if you look at what's happening around the world today.
Thank you. Iain.
Success for me is two things. First is this understanding of trust, that we've got bilateral understanding of what trust in generative AI, and I'm calling out generative AI in particular. But the second is none of this is going to happen without a skilled and mobile workforce. And I think having easy flow of AI expertise across our two countries, again, we're complementary in terms of size and scale, is vital. I can't employ AI architects for love nor money in Australia at the moment because there's so few of them. We've got this opportunity to do that and do it really well, and I think lead the world in that.
Thank you, Iain. Mukund.
Thanks, Monica. I'll take a commercial lens to this. I was speaking to our technology team at Austrade, and they were telling me that we have about 100 live commercial deals currently that we're working on with Australian tech companies in India at the moment. And that's good to have 100 live commercial deals right now. But really, that's really only about 10 to 15% of the scale of what we're doing when we look at the overall number of commercial deals we do in a year, at about 1,000 to 1,100 clients that we work with in India. And so I'd love to see that grow in the next 5 years to over 50% of all commercial deals, with the vision that in 10 years' time, we're not distinguishing between technology deals and work that we're doing across every sector.
Yeah. Thank you.
What I will say is that I'll just make it very, very straightforward and tangible. I would say 10 operating systems in an ecosystem that were built in Australia that are live in India, and 10 that were built in India are live in Australia.
Thank you, Vivek. A great last word there. And thank you, panelists, for a fabulous discussion. Thank you for your attention and interest in the session today. Could I have a hand of applause for these fabulous panelists? Thank you very much. Thank you.
I know Monica just asked you for a round of applause, but while they're getting a photo, please, can we extend that applause to Dr. Monica Kennedy for facilitating, and to our esteemed panel. And as she said, she was blown away by the calibre of minds, leadership and experience on this stage. The Ambassador, Iain, Mukund, Nidhi, Vivek and Swapan, thank you very much. Please, thank you. Outstanding. Now that we have a better understanding of that ecosystem that needs to be built between Australia and India, and trusted, that's that word, isn't it? Trusted digital ecosystems. Innovative, secure, and globally scalable. They are the takeaways from that. Now, we are going to take a short break. I'm looking at my watch here. Let's say 15 minutes, and we'll come back after this. More coffee, more food outside if you weren't able to dive into that during the last break, because straight after this, we're going to pad up and get into the world of sporting diplomacy with Steve Waugh. See you shortly.